With my wet hair, you'd think I was doing a beauty tutorial.
We've only just begun.
1408. It is another short story by Stephen King that, instead of being found in Night Shift like I've found every other short story, it can actually be found in Everything's Eventual. Now, I actually saw the John Cusack movie before I ever read the 1408 short story, and I really liked that movie. And that actually makes it harder to review the short story, because I think people, if they read the short story first and then watched the movie, would also really like the movie because it added so much to the short story. But if you go the other way around, it's actually taking away from what the movie is. That keeps happening with Stephen King adaptations, where the movies add a lot more than there was ever in the story. Oh, hello. With short stories, there's just not as much you can add. And I don't think 1408 would have been a good long story, but actually it might have been. 1408 the movie kind of treats it like The Shining, where it's a hotel, but it's all just stuck in one room. Well, the short story doesn't even spend that much time on the actual room itself. It actually spends most of its time talking about the horrors of the room, and he spends maybe 5 minutes in the actual room. In the movie, it's just the setup, and then he spends an hour in the room. An hour, but obviously the time loop. Spoilers. That makes it really interesting to see him a very gradual deterioration of mentally. While in the short story, he deteriorates almost instantly. Hello again. What do you want? What's interesting about the movie is that if you read the foreword to 1408 by Stephen King, he talks about it, and he also talks about it in On Writing. They actually use Stephen King's foreword and his own words as dialogue said by John Cusack, because he's also a writer, which is interesting. So John Cusack kind of becomes a stand-in for Stephen King to a bit of a degree. So it's good when you go back and read it and you're like, oh, that's where they got that dialogue, because that sounds very Stephen King-y, even if he didn't write it. But Stephen King did write it, he just didn't write it as fiction. I would say read the short story first. And then it's definitely worth your time to watch the 1408 movie, because it actually really creeped me out the first time I saw it. It's quite one of those better Stephen King adaptations, because it's hokey, but it's also got good acting in it, and really creepy stuff going on. Before I finish, that was another thing I didn't enjoy about the short story, is that it didn't really build up on the creep factor. There are creepy moments in it that you could never show in a movie, like the main character, he rubs his hand across the wall and it reminds him of flesh, and you can't really do that in a film. But it also doesn't do as much as the film in terms of horror, where it's just the unsettling feeling for 5 minutes and then he runs out of the room, rather than a gradual buildup of creepy stuff happening. Overall, I'd give it 2 kings because it's good. It's just the problem is when you see a medium that's done more with this great concept, it's harder to enjoy this one as much. Video cut out because I don't have a lot of storage, but read the short story first, read the foreword first, read Stephen King's On Writing about the short story, and then watch the movie, because you'll enjoy it in that order rather than the opposite way. See you later.